Welcome to The Good Pod, where today we'll be talking about The Good Wife, Season 2, Episode 10, Breaking Up. I am one of your hosts, Jason Reed. With me, as always, someone who would never frame me for a pharmacist murder, Marissa Garza. Marissa, how are you? Good?
I think that's a super, super safe bet there. I would fumble that bag so hard. Like I would
Yeah,
not know how to do anything in that situation.
man.
But yeah. You're
We'll,
safe
we'll-
here, Jason. You're safe. You're safe here on the Good Pod.
we'll talk about our defendants trying to frame an innocent woman for this
Yeah.
murder that they committed.
Yeah.
Real scummy move. Um, that
Very
was a
much
lot.
so.
Listen, we got another kind of a ticking clock case. Very soon
Yeah.
after our last ticking clock, we got another kind of a time limit case here, which is very interesting. I really enjoyed how this episode was shot and what they did with a lot of the moments and stuff. So I'm excited to get into it. But
Yeah.
before we get into all the nitty gritty, we wanted to give you some easy and free ways to support this podcast. No matter where you're listening, no matter where you're watching, there is a way to support us by giving us a follow, giving us a like, giving us a thumbs up, or leaving us a rating or a review. We've been stuck in a certain number of reviews for a minute here, so I really want to appeal to you all to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, which is where you can write a review. On Spotify, you can give us a star rating, but on Apple, we would love to hear your reviews as well. You know, we really need these reviews like Alicia needs self-righteousness, right? Like that's Alicia's thing. We need your reviews like Carrie needs hair gel to really just
Oh my
mess up his
God.
hair and make it look
Yeah.
messy.
Yeah.
We need your reviews like Will needs a 25-year-old to distract him from Alicia. Okay. We need your reviews like Kalinda needs leather jackets and knee-high boots.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
We need your reviews like Diane
Yeah.
needs some good barn loving from Kurt. Where's Kurt?
Always.
Where's Kurt in the second season, by the way? We're 10 episodes. No Kurt. And finally, we need your reviews like Peter needs sex workers. Okay. Yeah, you don't like that one. I know. Yeah, so we need your reviews. That's all right. Let's get a nice 5-star review. We love to read them here on the podcast. So we are anxious to hear from you about how much you like this podcast. You can also, if you want to leave us a message or just chop it up with us about the show or our show, the show, Good Wife, you can also email us at thegoodpodfeedback@gmail.com.
Yes, I would like the reason why like we need these reviews like the Good Wife like the Good Wife needs the show. I don't know. I tried, Jason. I really did.
You tried.
Like the more reviews and the more interaction we get, the easier it is for more people to find us. So we would really appreciate your help in that way. Plus, we would love to hear from you. Like Jason and I talk about like any review that comes in, any email that comes in. We're always so happy to see that someone has interacted with us, and we just love it. So if you want to spread some joy, spread some love, send a message our way.
It's automatic screenshot. And I sent it to Marissa. Say, look, someone left a review.
Yes,
it's a fun time for us. Yeah. So with that out of the way, let's kind of get into the show.
All right. Well, this is episode 10, Breaking Up. This was an interesting one, as you were saying, Jason. Like the way that it was shot, how they dealt with the ticking clock. We also had like a moment where, in the last episode, there was a lot of like tension and like Diane's making moves and all this stuff is happening and all of that's still going on at the beginning of this episode, but this story kind of makes everybody come in and play nice for a little bit, which I think always adds like some drama in that situation. Like Diane and Will have to do something together and they haven't had to do something together in a while, so it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting when you think about character motivations, right? Because Diane is working ahead, right? She's like, I know that they're trying to force me out, so I'm going on my own way. Will, for most of the episode, does not know that he's in a war with Diane. He has no idea that he and Diane are at war until later in the episode, which is an interesting moment as well. And then you get Carrie, who comes in, and I mean, this is a standout episode for Carrie because Carrie is carrying. Carrie is carrying more than he's ever carried before. He's
carrying so much Carrie at this moment.
Yeah, he's playing everybody against each other. But then there's a moment that we'll get to like very late in the episode where it's like there's this moment where everyone kind of feels the same thing about this case and about what's going on. We get this very like kind of sobering moment where everybody's just like, oh my God, this really sucks. And you feel like Carrie is also in on that moment. So I feel like this is part of like them kind of bringing Carrie back into the fold a little bit. Like they're pulling Carrie back. Like we've had minimal Carrie this season due to him not being part of our firm, our hero's firm, but it feels like they're bringing him more and more back into the main story.
Yeah, the definite like the road is being laid, I
Mhm.
think, for that to happen.
Yeah.
So this episode opens back up with Owen. Owen's back,
Owen's
brother
back.
Owen,
Yeah.
sitting at the desk, making himself comfortable, sitting in Alicia's office. Diane calls on the phone. Diane's very confused.
Just
She's like, "Who
very.
are you?
Everyone's
What?
confused about this
What's
man, who this man is, and what he's doing in
what?"
Alicia's office. There's very low level security at Lockhart Gardner,
Yeah, no
obviously,
kidding.
because this man can just walk. This man can walk in. Eli was able to walk in and go to her office whenever he wanted to, and now Owen's here just chilling in her office. Like no one knows who this man is. I'm sure he didn't check himself in as I'm Alicia's brother. Let me in. And we'll find over the years in Lockhart Gardner there's very lax security at Lockhart Gardner.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Will is like looking. Will goes on like high alert. He's like, "There's a
Mhm.
man in Alicia's office. Oh my god, I don't know who this man is. Like, what's going on?" So he like goes in
Is,
all
is
territorial and
is
is
this an
like,
opponent for my
"Hi."
affections? Like this someone else trying to come after Alicia? What is this? He's like, oh, you're a brother. No
I
worries.
love when we get moments like this on the show because these people can be really funny.
Hmm.
Like they are very gifted actors. They do not have to stay within the confines of being a lawyer. Like they have some comedic chops to them. And I love when Owen comes because he usually, as we'll see later in this episode, brings that to the show as well.
Yeah.
Alicia's very concerned that Owen is here. Is like, what is going on? And
She sees Owen and Will just chatting it up, like just laughing, and they're like, "What?" Like, cause it's this is Alicia like and like any brother sister relationship. She's like, "Is he telling like embarrassing stories about me? Like, what is he saying
right.
to Will about me?" So she sees Owen and just drops everything. It's like, "Oh my god, let me go fix whatever this is."
She's very concerned. And also, like, Owen was expected to be out of the country in Botswana for
Yeah,
a while. So she's like, one, Owen is back early. Two, he's talking to Will.
he's talking to my
Three, he's in
brother.
my office.
My
Like, what's
brother's
going on?
yeah, my brother's talking to my crush. Like that can't be good.
Yeah, it cannot be. And so Will's like so excited to meet Owen. He's like, "Oh my gosh, so great to meet you!" Like, okay, like there was some expectant here,
Hmm.
something expecting. And before Will leaves, he tells Alicia, Murphy from the Gomez Murphy case. Finally,
Yeah.
we get some sort of personification of these people. Murphy's son had gotten picked up on a stimulant charge. It's no big deal, but I need you to take care of it. Alicia's like, yeah, okay, cool. Owen, why are you here?
Yeah. And like as Will leaves, Owen's like, "Oh, nice to meet you again. What was your name?" He's like, "Will Gardner." And then as Will leaves, Owen's like, that's a familiar name. Like, I
Yeah.
remember in college you mentioned something about a Will Gardner. Interesting. Yeah,
And
but
like he's visited before and picked up on it
yeah,
between
for sure.
the two of them.
And it's interesting, you like as you said, we've talked about the Murphy Gomez case that keeps getting referred to earlier in this season. And last season was the Shefford Marks. They kept getting this name of this case that we never actually got a Shefford Marks case. It was just a like plot device to move someone over from the main story to somewhere else. Like, I'm gonna put you on Shefford Marks, meaning you're not gonna be part of this main story. Goodbye. And so we actually get some like Murphy Gomez. We get a like you said a personification of who these people are. It's not dealing with the main Murphy Gomez case. It's dealing with like you said, the son of Murphy is in trouble.
Yeah, and it also like then just demonstrates one how far they'll go for a client, but also we know like they need money. They really don't have a choice. Per
We always
use,
need
they
money.
always
We
need.
always need money. We're like, are y'all just bad money managers? Like, what is going on? You're always broke.
Yeah, it's not great. But so uh, Alicia's like, okay, cool. Owen, what are you doing here? Owen's like, I broke up with Kevin.
Not
He
Kevin.
cheated on me. And we're like, oh, I thought Kevin was going to be the one. This was sad. Clint is like, hate to break this up, but FYI, Alicia, Jonathan and his girlfriend are at the police station and they won't leave until they ID the drug dealer. So you're going to kind of have to get over there. And Alicia's like, okay, fine. Owen, here's my keys. Open the door when I come home, but you can go
Mhm.
over to the apartment, which is a very sibling thing to do.
Yeah.
At the police station, who knows? Like the ASA, I have in my notes. Help me remind me. Remind me what this means, Jason. ASA is holding up the process.
So this should go rather fast, right? It should be a simple drug charge, but
Yes.
Carrie is making
Yes.
them hold them for some reason. We don't know yet, but Carrie is making them like keep them in a separate room because Carrie's got to come talk to them about something. So this should be a rather simple like in and out, but for some reason Jonathan and his girlfriend are being held up with for something
Yes.
else.
There's a strategy at play. We don't really know what it is. What Alicia is going in for is what they keep calling a 1410, which is when a case remains open without conviction,
Yeah.
but is served with probation. So they're just like, we're going to just try to like move this along, move this along. Both of these kids want to be lawyers. So they're, you know, thinking about their. Carrie comes in and Alicia's like, really? You?
Bruh.
And he,
You again?
what?
At least like, are there any other ASAs out in the world, out in here in Chicago? Because we just keep getting you. I keep seeing your face, Carrie. What's up with that? And Carrie's just like, yeah, well, I'm the only one they put on the Lockhart Gardner cases, which is true because we know Childs is just trying to f with Alicia. Like
Yes.
that's totally true. It's like Lockhart
Yes.
Gardner's on this. Send Carrie. Like what's Carrie going to do when they have like multiple cases at one time against the state? Like, all right, Carrie, he's going to do double, triple duty.
Yeah, because there are multiple lawyers at this firm. I know we only see like one case at a time
Yeah.
per week, but like you have to assume that Julius is doing something.
Well,
you
I
know?
think the ones with Alicia get priority. They're like, oh, Alicia's going to go. Like, then we're going to send Carrie because that's the best way we can f with Alicia.
Did you clock this look between Kalinda and Carrie when they said hello to? It's like Kalinda.
Yeah, he's like,
Carrie.
What's up, Kalinda?
So yeah, he still thinks he's got something there.
Yeah.
Alicia's like, okay, cool. Well, ID the drug dealer, get drug school, and Carrie's like, okay, cool. I can agree to that. That's fine. Which anytime Carrie agrees to something that easily, we know something else is going on. Like something is weird. To which, so this happens. Carrie gets into a situation where he's like, I think that the dealer killed the pharmacist. So, and Carrie thinks that the dealer is Lamont Bishop. So this is getting a bit more complicated, especially for Alicia.
Because the drugs that were found with Jonathan and Alexis, who are our like defendants here, like were linked to this pharmacist, and now this pharmacist has turned up dead. So they're like, we need you to identify who sold you these drugs linked to this pharmacist. So because that person that dealt you the drugs, we think killed the pharmacist. So all you need to do, very, very simple. All you got to do is show me the dealer who sold you the drugs, and you are free to go. You are A-okay. Just point out which of these black men sold you the drugs. Like, and we can,
no kidding.
We can just move on. Like we got this. Like this, there's someone part of Lamont Bishop's crew who sold you these drugs. Point them out. You're good to go. No problem, right?
Like, I just need you like for just a moment, just like a little brief moment.
It'll take less than 10 seconds. Just point them
out. Yeah. Meanwhile, Will visits Tammy at work, which was interesting because Tammy introduces Will to Derek Rose's lawyer. This was weird. Like, Will is trying so hard to get new clients. He's like, I'll be Derek Rose's lawyer. Like, in what world, Will, do you think you have a chance at this? I have no idea. But he is using his connections with Tammy to try and get this introduction going.
Yeah, Derek Rose, who this comes at an interesting time in the real world because Derek Rose just found out he's getting his number retired for the Chicago Bulls, so that's pretty cool. But yes,
he also has like a truck of roses that he like has actual like roses, and he gives them to people. Like Derek Rose,
he just goes
like,
out
he has
the streets,
a flower truck.
hands them.
Well, I forget. There's something I need to look it up. Like Google it, people. There's something there.
Yeah, Google it.
Yeah,
Derek Rose and selling the roses. Cool, but yeah. But yeah, we get this intro. Like Tammy gives this intro to Derek Rose's manager or agent, whoever this is.
I think it's like one of the 15 lawyers that Derek Rose already has. Because like the guy's like, Derek has this guy, and me.
So yeah, he's like, why would we need
you?
Yeah.
And of course, Will later on in the episode is like, well, I have a better average from the free throw line, which is a dig at Derek Rose for his time on the Bulls specifically. So that was a little time marker for the Chicagoan. Carrie does get the two of these kids, Jonathan, the son in question, and his girlfriend. Did we mention who plays the girlfriend, Alexis?
Alexis is played by Lily Sobieski, who, in like the late 90s, early 2000s was kind of a good actress, a darling. She was in like Deep Impact. She was in some really interesting movies, and so she played Joan of Arc. She got nominated for an Emmy for that. So she, in the early 2000s, late 90s, she was somebody on the scene. She has since retired from acting, I think like 2012. So she's not like that big of a deal now. But in the time, like it was probably like, oh yeah, it's that lady. Like I literally saw her and was like, I know her name. I don't
You're
know her.
somebody.
She has a name, Lily Sobieski. Like I saw the name. I was like, I got that name. I don't know what she was in. I don't know anything about it. And I Googled it. I was like, oh yeah, like she was. I think her name is the most interesting thing about her, which is what I remember about her specifically. Lily Sobieski. I was like, oh, that's such a cool
It's
name.
a good ring. It's a
Yeah,
good
for
ring
sure.
to
This
it.
is like this
Yeah.
is actually one
Yeah.
of the last things that she did before she retired. So that's interesting.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. She retired from acting like
Wow.
2012.
Well, Lily, we're still talking about you.
We're here for you, Lily.
Yeah, we're here for you. You want to come on the pod?
Yeah,
Talk
come
about it?
on.
We're here.
Talk about your one episode stint on The Good Wife.
So Carrie does get Alexis and Jonathan to ID someone, but then he asks further questions. He's like, "Did you see them on the specific street corner?" And this is getting Alicia to be like, "They ID'd the guy. Like,
Like,
what are you doing?
why are we still doing this?
Why?" And they're both like, "We weren't there. We were in the library."
Yeah.
So again, like Alicia's red flags go up. She's out the door calling Kalinda saying something is weird here. And Kalinda's like, "Yeah, because there were no anti-gang preparations." Like, I
Yeah.
don't really know what that means, but
Like there
Kalinda's like, the story you're being sold is not what's happening.
yeah, I guess there's no active like investigations to Lamont Bishop's crew, I think is what this is
Yeah.
supposed to be. So this seems fishy because Carrie's trying to place them in a specific place and they're just like, no, we didn't get the drugs from him there. We were like at that time we were at the library when you're talking about this thing going down. So I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. We just pointed at that black guy. That's the black guy that did it. So I thought that was all you needed from me. So why are you asking further questions about my whereabouts? And
Right. As two white people, like, why are you even questioning me? I gave you
yeah,
a black man. Like,
yes,
this is
exactly.
go do it.
I pointed to him to go get him. And so yeah, Alicia's like, that's weird. As like you said, Kalinda's like, yeah, I don't know what Carrie's talking about because there's no active like investigation into like Lamont Bishop's gang right
Yeah, she's like, this is a scam to get them talking. Alicia
now.
slams her flip phone, runs in,
That's
right in time to hear Carrie say, they're not going anywhere. They're both charged with murder.
yeah, she's running in her heels like it's like, have you ever seen Tom Cruise run? Tom Cruise has like a very specific
Yes.
run. This is
Yes.
Alicia has to do a run in heels, so she's trying to get to them as fast as you can. But I mean, listen, Alicia, if you hadn't left the room, you probably could have headed this
Yeah.
off. But she left,
Yeah.
and Carrie took that opportunity to be like, all right, time to really drill
Moving in.
And whatever he did got them to like slip up or whatever. He's like, nah, they're now under investigation for murder. Like, we are holding them for murder. It's like, oh,
She gets on the phone. Hey, Will,
a
I'm
little
going to need
problem.
some backup here. Will's like more than happy to get out of bed with Tammy
I guess some
and
time,
come
Alicia.
running. Like, oh, I'll be there. Meanwhile, Diane and Julius are office shopping. So this leaving this new firm we learned last episode was happening soon. This is how soon it's happening that they're shopping for offices. But then they get a call because they know that it's Murphy's son, and Diane's like, oh, it would be so great if Murphy came with us. Like if we could take this client. So we have to show up. We have to go there.
Yeah, they sign with the client. Yeah.
So everyone's here now. We've got Alicia, we've got Will, we've got Diane, we've got Julius, we've got Carrie, we've got Kalinda. I like when Carrie was like, reunion. It's a nice little reunion we've got
Carrie's
going
like,
on here.
oh, look at us. We're all nice and reunited here. The whole gang's here. Like, Will, Diane, Kalinda, Julius, I guess. You're here too.
I guess. Okay, great. And this is when he says why he was able to charge them with murder. Basically, is that there were prescription drugs in Alexis's room. Those had barcodes on them, and those barcodes linked them to the pharmacy. Mm-hmm. And they found the same thing in Jonathan's room. And then I totally forgot about this, but I still think this is abhorrent. Abhorrent. Campus police don't need a warrant to search? Like, what?
Yeah.
What? Because that's how they found this, was through a search done by campus police. Because the first thing out of Alicia's mouth is like, a warrant? I was like, no, don't need one because it was campus police. And it's just like, what? I didn't even, when I was in college, I was like, I was in danger. Like, I didn't even know. Obviously, because I am so dangerous.
They could have found all your drugs. Like, we know from last episode how you feel about the drug trade, and you're a big proponent of drug dealers and the drug trade. We know this.
He said,
those campus police could have found all your drugs.
I was not going to frame you for that pharmacist situation, but my wheels are turning.
Oh God. Oh no.
So the people that the kids ID'd were members of Bishop's crew, but they're all dead. So,
Man, that's
you
a
know,
gotcha. That's quite a gotcha if you ever seen one. I mean, that's really clever on Carrie's part, like to make them ID a a dangerous drug dealer who couldn't have sold them drugs because he's dead. So
yeah.
we got you on that.
And Carrie is so high right now. He's on cloud nine. He's just
Mm-hmm.
like, this is great. I pulled a once over on all these people. They're all here. They're all at my mercy. So he's like, hey, don't worry. I'll make you a deal. Whoever turns on the other first gets 8 months. The other
Mm-hmm.
person's gonna get 25 years.
It's like a deal with the devil. It's like, hey, like I got quite a deal for you. If you get one of these lovers to switch on the other one, I'll give the one that's flipped only the 8 months. Like, so that's all you gotta do is get them to turn to each other. No big deal, right?
Well, and then he's even like more swarmy, and he's like, who wants to get out in time for their 22nd birthday and who wants to get in time for their 48th? And he
Ouch.
walks away. I was like, Carrie.
Ouch.
Carrie.
He's just
No,
reveling in this moment.
yeah. Well, so now that because everybody's here, they decide, okay, we're going to split the team. Will and Alicia are going to be with Jonathan, and
Will's like,
Diane
Will's
and
like, Alicia's with me.
Julius are going
Like,
to be. Yeah,
I'll take Alicia.
obviously.
And it was like, oh yeah, shocker. You want to go with Alicia? Who could have predicted that? Will, that you want to go with Alicia? Oh gosh,
Well,
you're
and
playing right in Diane's hands. Will, playing right into her hands.
Diane is like, well, what do we do if they're, like both in danger or whatever? And Will's like, we need to protect Jonathan, obviously. Like,
Like, well, listen,
this
I
is the
like that
thing.
girl, but I mean that guy's dad's paying our bills, so
Yeah. Yeah.
you know who we gotta protect here. Like, let's not play. You know who we're really defending.
What I liked about what we saw next is that Will and Diane gave the exact same speech to their clients. So
Mm-hmm.
as much as there's like so much difference between the two of them, as much as they can like fight and spar, they are very similar in their values and in how they do their jobs. It was like one right after line for line. They gave the same speech of basically like, I'm not like, you have to confess to me so that I can
Yeah,
help you.
yeah. Will's
Like
like
this.
he's like, your first instinct will be to lie. Your second instinct will also be to lie. I need your third instinct. He's like, we are not your confessors. We're not here to judge you. We just need the truth in order to know how to proceed. Like, just so no, don't BS us. Like, give us the truth. Like, early in the episode, Alicia goes talk to them, and they say some line, and she's like, that's great for Carrie, for the cops, but like, you don't need to do
For
that with
me,
me. Like,
yeah.
I'm your lawyer. Like, you can tell me the truth without getting in trouble. Like, that's what Diane and Will try to say too. Like, we need to know the real. Like, I understand what you want us to think, but we need to actually know so we can know how to go. What they're not saying is we need to know the truth so that we can get Jonathan out of trouble, and if we need to throw this on Alexis, to throw it on
Yeah.
Alexis. Like,
Yeah.
that's not what they're telling Jonathan and Alexis. So that's what they mean. Like, they're telling them not to lie, but they're also lying. They're like, oh, okay, yes, like we need to know everything so that we can get Jonathan out of trouble because he's the golden goose here. He's
He's
the guy.
priority number one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They do confess that they went to get stimulants for finals, and this is something that they needed. And they were protecting themselves from going into prison. So this is like, in a way, they're telling them, like, hey, we thought about this.
Well,
Like,
yeah, but they're still not telling the whole truth. They're like
no, they're
they're
not.
telling a
They're
partial
not.
truth, and they're like,
Yes.
yeah, and because neither one of them will still flip on the other person. They're still not saying anything about the actual murder, and it's like, well,
Right.
they're just protecting each other. And like Julius, who comes in, he's like, well, they're protecting themselves right into prison. Like, good line, Julius. Good line. That's all Julius will
Hey,
say in this episode.
he only gets a few lines.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Like,
all he
he
says.
delivers.
But
He
he
delivers.
did the damn thing. Julius, I see you. I'm still your number one fan, Julius. I'm still here for you. I'm backing you up, Julius. Oh, Julius.
Meanwhile, so Owen takes the keys from Alicia earlier this episode and goes to the apartment. Who's there? Who's always there? Jackie.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be Jackie. And for some reason, Jackie decides to have a drink with Owen and like has multiple drinks and starts to unravel because she decides to ask Owen, how do you know you were gay?
like just comes around with it. Like, are you one of those people that think you were born gay? It's like, oh my god, like Jackie.
Like, what? It's so cringe. It's so
And of
and
course,
it was cringe back then. Like, this is a cringe that holds up.
but this is a great duo, right? Because
Yes.
you have the old crotchety Jackie who, in her old person way has these antiquated views, antiquated thoughts. Then you have Owen, who is just not who's not scared of anybody or anything and is willing to say whatever to number one, like shock this old lady. He's like, because she's like, how did you know you were gay? He's like, he's like, it was somewhere around where I filleted my first man. Is where I kind
hate
of
that
figured it
word.
out. She's like, oh my, I hate that word. It's like, oh god, like so it's an interesting duo that we have here going back and forth tit for tat.
And then we find out why she's asking these questions because she's concerned about Grace. Okay, now last episode we were like, I can't believe Jackie didn't say anything about Grace praying because, Jackie prays. So she would be like, oh my gosh, Grace is praying. Like, she didn't say anything because she was concerned that Grace was holding Shannon's hand on a bed at a sleepover. And I was like, this is a leap. Like this, I did not expect us to go here.
Yeah, so like we were like, oh my god, it's religion. But no, it's like, oh my god, she might be gay. Like that was the thing. It wasn't the religion piece. It was, oh my god, she might be gay for Grace. Just like, it's like, huh? Like, how do we get here? Because you and I probably were both shocked. Like, oh, like that's interesting interpretation of that. Like they were holding hands, and no one's like, that's not a big deal. And she's like, no, you don't understand. Hands. They were on their bed holding hands after a sleepover. After a sleepover, Owen. He's like, oh, I was like, oh my god, big deal.
So weird.
It was an odd.
It was good comedic relief, but it was very, very weird. Kalinda, picking up on the information that they got stimulants for finals and the fact that their rooms have been searched by campus police, goes to the campus, finds out there were no stacks passes at that time. This does bring back, you used to have to get permission to go to the library. Like this was you had to like sign in, sign out. You couldn't go. You could only go at certain times. And so when they said the library, I forgot about this part of my collegiate experience. But yeah, it would really suck because sometimes I would forget about a book and it's like, oh crap, I can't go in. This was before the internet, people. Like think about the pain of us millennials, okay? Mm-hmm. Like it's just a lot.
Physically read stuff in books.
Yes.
Encyclopedias.
You didn't even know if the book that you picked up was going to be the book that you needed.
Yeah.
You had no clue.
We didn't have Google. We didn't have Wikipedia.
No.
We had none of that.
Yeah.
We had encyclopedia. Like, Wikipedia, where the pedia comes from? It comes from encyclopedia. Y'all young people who probably didn't even listen to this, y'all even know what encyclopedias are. Okay? There are big books. They all have volumes. And you had to go in there and read.
And you had to use an index to find the topic.
Appendices.
Yeah. Oof. Footnotes.
Man.
Yeah. So much stuff.
You youngins have it easy, I tell you. Yeah, I mean,
they weren't even there.
Worse.
They weren't at the library.
It makes it worse that Jonathan and Alexis are using it as their alibi because we can easily disprove that you were there because you weren't signed in. You didn't clock into the library, so we know you weren't there, dummies.
But that just shows how much they think they can get away with it too. Is like, we're just gonna say this: there's no stacks pass at the time. They can't go in. The students were reporting that Jonathan was selling those drugs. And so this is like a new piece of information. And then Kalinda meets with the campus police that did the search on the room and just does pure Kalinda magic of like, hey, so tell me what you did.
Yeah, I love the campus police guy who's just like, who thought he was just such hot shit. He was just like, campus police. I'm like, I'm the big dealer on here. Y'all coming to ask me questions because I'm the big campus police.
I broke it.
Yeah, like I'm here. I did it. I found the drugs. I'm all that. Like it was such an interesting he was doing with his he thought he was big and bad with his campus police self.
And it was so interesting also because the detective who was working the case from the police department was also there. And so he's like, yeah, you searched the room. Cool. That's enough. And then the campus police guy's like, no. And then I opened this bag that was on the floor and found the drugs. And the police officer's just like,
oh God. Kalinda knows her stuff because she's like, I want you to show me exactly how you found the drugs.
Yeah.
Because I think Kalinda's on to probably what this is. Like, because she's like, where'd you find it? He's like, over there. She's like, oh, at the bag? Like, show me how you found it. And he literally goes step by step. He's like, I went over to the bag. I zipped open the bag, and Kalinda's like, okay, yep, that's all I need to hear. Because you were able to search the room, but you're not able to open bags and stuff to look inside of bags.
Right.
That is illegal. You can't do that. You can't go that far. And so, like you said, the detective was like, oh god, like great, like now we got problems.
And Kalinda's like, yay.
Mm-hmm.
So great.
Kalinda's earned her
Back
money
at the
this episode.
station. Yeah. Back at the station, Alexis's mom shows up at the police station. She's very worried. She's very concerned. To which Carrie's like, ooh, let's have some more fun.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go over and tell Alexis's mom that, these lawyers, they're playing tricks. What happens if, they're not giving the best defense for your daughter. I just want to let you know you have options. I can give you names of other places.
Yeah, he also tries to get into Alicia's head. He's like, "Oh, you guys are really just trying to get over on these kids, huh?" And Alicia's like, "Oh, you're telling me about tricks when the whole reason we're here is because you played a trick on my clients." And Carrie's just like, "Oh," like Carrie pulls out his his savior card. He's like, "Oh, but I was doing it for the good of the people, for to find a murderer." Like, of course, yes, Carrie, you are the moral high ground. We all are aware of your moral moral superiority to us all that you are now so rightfully claiming this whole season.
He says to Alicia in that conversation, we both know the killers look exactly like the victims. And I was like, Carrie,
Yeah,
what are you saying? Where did this come from?
I wasn't sure
What
where
is
that was coming
going on
from.
with this?
Yeah, I
I
wasn't
was
sure
like, huh, okay. Maybe they just like put something in there, or maybe it flew right over my head. Both could be true.
Yeah.
Will, with this new information that Kalinda gave him about the fact that the bag search was illegal, he is now on his ego high horse, walks up to Carrie and is like, you lost. Okay. Like, it's all right. We'll just take a 1410. No big deal. Don't let your ego do the thinking here, And then this is where Carrie goes even more in on Alexis's mom, tells her like, hey, I got a deal with these people, but they're not telling you that. And if they're not telling you about that, they don't care about you. Yeah. So call these guys. And lo and behold, who walks through the door, Jason?
Man, it's freaking Wilk. like Will's evil twin. It's Wilk. Like who we remember from a few episodes, like it was probably about 5 or 6 episodes ago. We were introduced to Wilk when we had the big humanitarian guy had essayed a masseuse, and Wilk was representing the humanitarian. Got into a literal fist fight with Will
outside.
And, I was shocked. I was flabbergasted that Wilk showed up. I was like, I literally legit thought Wilk was going to be a 1 episode guy, in and out. We'd be done with him. But no, I was like, oh my God, is that Wilk? I could swear he still had like a bruise or something from his fight with Will. I was like, is he still bruised up from that? How long ago was that? But I was shocked. It was like the devil walked in. I was like, oh my God, like it's Wilk.
Yeah, I thought it was really smart of them to do that because in the masseuse episode, we are given this information about Wilk's law firm that basically like they will do anything to get anybody out of anything. Like they're like ambulance chasers, like to that extent of like they're down there. In my mind, the only thing I can think of if you're from Chicagoland is Peter Francis Geraci, but he's a bankruptcy lawyer, but he's like everywhere. But anyway, Will comes in. And so it signifies to us, like, okay, he's not Alexis isn't the greatest hands at the moment with Wilk. Yeah. Like, Alexis, you're also in danger. Like, you think you're getting a good deal, but Carrie totally set you up for this one as well because he knows that Wilk will, like, plea whatever he needs to do to get out of this.
But and I do think Carrie probably called around just trying to find someone. And he's like, oh yeah, what about that Wilk guy? And so, I mean, I think he also knows that Wilk will do whatever he needs to do for his client. Like he'll go, even if it might be like kind of illegal, Wilk will do it. Yeah. Like, so I think he thinks he's got good hands. He just needs someone other than Lockhart Gardner to be this lawyer for Alexis because he knows that he can use this to his advantage to get someone to flip because he knows the Lockhart Gardner strategy. The Lockhart Gardner strategy is to come in, all right, no one say nothing. Because if no one says nothing, they can't do nothing. So we just all guys shut the F up. They will let us go at some point. But Carrie sees through this, and Carrie's like, no. I gotta get someone in here to play against Lockhart Gardner. So he convinces Alexis's mom to hire Wilk, and Wilk comes in, like I said, like the devil, And then Carrie comes in, like, all right, new deal. First one to flip gets 8 months. Good night. And just like walks off. It's like, oh, Carrie,
He's so
you
proud of himself.
you scamp.
Oh, yeah. I was like, Carrie, I hate that, but I also love that.
Yeah.
There was
Great
like,
job, Carrie.
oh,
Carrie's doing the work here.
well, it's time for Alicia to get home. Because she doesn't have her keys, she has to knock on her own door
Mhm.
and is greeted by a very drunk Jackie, which was hilarious to see.
Hilarious. She has on this headdress or wig, whatever you want to call it, that Owen had gotten Alicia. We found out he got her
Yes.
from Botswana. Jackie is wearing it. She's like, "Oh, hello. I've just been doing laundry." I equated this to, if you're like a Toy Story fan, there was a in Toy Story 1 where Buzz Lightyear
Yes.
drinks some tea and puts on this hat. He's like, "I'm
Yeah.
ready to have tea with Mrs. Nesbit." Like he gets despondent and drunk. It's so funny. Like that was like what I thought of when Jackie's at the door drunk.
Yeah. It was a great, like in the characters in order of like people that I don't like, it's like Peter number one, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Jackie is like really, really close behind Peter. So it was fun to see Jackie like in a place where I didn't have to have eyes of ire on,
Yeah,
where I
yeah.
just was like, this is funny. Owen is on the phone with Kevin when Alicia walks in, but later they have a conversation where Alicia just like calls her brother out. He's like, he didn't cheat on you, did he? You
Mm.
cheated on him. And Owen says, not everyone is required to be committed for life, Alicia. Like
Ooh,
this,
and
like vision of marriage is something they continuously talk about. Like, how committed does one person have to be? And then they like disperse into a traditional don't touch me sibling fight.
yeah, it was so
And
cute
so,
because we haven't really, like, Owen is the only person that we've seen that can really get Alicia like this, right? Like
yeah.
to be kind of playful, to be kind of like they have this weird brother sister little fight. Like I think Owen like puts an ice cube down her back and she's like, oh my god, she's like starts like hitting on him a little bit, like this little cutesy sibling fight. Like we've rarely seen Alicia come out of her shell in that way. So it's interesting that only Owen can really get that out of her. Someone that's been with her whole life, really, to kind of get her out of that serious show we've always seen Alicia in.
Yes.
And
At this
I do think
point,
it's interesting
oh, go ahead.
that I do think it's interesting that Owen is the one that cheated on Kevin, especially given how self righteous he is when he talks to Peter about cheating on his sister. It's like, oh, so cheating's not like that terrible, is it? If you're willing to do it, like, interesting.
Well, and like he saw what cheating did to his sister. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, knowing that he's doing that to Kevin is also something I'm sure he's thinking about.
Yeah.
Tammy calls Will, and Will's like, oh my gosh, am I Derek Rose's new lawyer?
It's like, so did you hear from Derek? Like, not call. Like like she's literally saying at like his place. I think he comes home like she's in bed.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
He's like,
Yeah, that's
do
right.
you hear from Derek Rose? She's like, no, but his lawyer basically told me that, you and Lockhart Gardner are breaking up and Diane is getting clients for a coup against you. It's like,
Well, yeah. And she says this, and then she's like, okay, good night.
yeah, like no big deal.
That's it. That's it. No biggie. And this is the first time, as you were talking about at the beginning of this episode, like this is the first time Will is hearing of this at all. And the fact that it had to come from Tammy, which means it's out
It's out in the
in other
streets.
places. Yeah.
It's on the
And
streets
it
of
coming,
Chicago.
yeah. The next thing I have in my notes is Carrie's being super annoying.
Yeah, we kind of get this montage because we now have Jonathan in a room, we have Alexis in a room, we have their lawyers with them, we see them individually, and Carrie's like going back and forth, like trying to convince the other one to flip, and we have the people's lawyers, so like, no, like don't flip, like we got to stay pat, we got to stay where we are. So it's interesting, and it really is a good showcase of how Carrie works because he's being very
Yeah.
convincing, but everyone's lawyers like, no, we can't fall for this. Don't fall for Carrie's shenanigans. Like, dude, we are not going to admit to anything. We're not going to flip on anybody. We're not doing that.
Yes. And one of the things that comes up in this carry back and forth is that there's blood in Jonathan's car, but it can't be admissible in court because of the illegal search. He's also telling Alexis that John's dad donated to Childs' campaign and therefore would be willing to make a deal for him instead of her. And then also telling John that it would look bad. Wouldn't it look bad if like Childs made a deal with you and your dad's a big campaign contributor?
Yeah.
And then he even says, like, do you think love can conquer all? Even at a 25-year 25-year stretch. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Carrie.
Yeah, because I mean, he's telling everybody what he wants them to hear, what he wants them to know. Like, you better flip fast because that guy's gonna Child's really gonna look out for this guy and not you, so you better flip. And he tells the other guy like, you better flip because Child's isn't gonna look out for you. So it's really smart. It's really cool. It was really a well done, a well shot scene cinematically because we
Yeah.
kind of a seamless transition to the different rooms as we get as we get our all the lawyers talking, well, you got nothing on us, Carrie. And as we transition to the new room with Wilk, it's like, we're not going to fall for that. And I do think it's really interesting because as Jonathan and Alexis talk, like they just keep saying like, we're not going to flip. Like, I love her, she loves me, blah blah blah. And Alicia's looking at Jonathan. She's like, oh man, like young love, like how great it would be to be that dumb, like to be this dumb to think young love could conquer all.
It's like, I
Those are the
remember
days.
when I was looking at Will that way in college and
Yeah,
like thinking that
yeah.
love would conquer everything.
Yeah, she almost respects it in a way. She's like, that's so sweet that they're this dedicated to each other. I wish I had that.
Diane brings Alicia outside and has a conversation. This is the conversation we all knew kind of was coming, but
Mhm.
she did not. She opens it up with, I've come to respect you, Alicia.
And she's like, "Oh
Which,
my god, thank you so much!" Like she doesn't know what this is about. She's like, "Oh, that's great." Alicia, who's always open to a compliment, but it always is followed up by like a slap to Alicia's face. She's like, "Hey, like I really respect you, really love you, but now I have to ask for a favor or something, or some other thing that comes right after that."
yeah, it's just like, we're starting a firm. I want you to come with us. It's just like here, it doesn't leave a lot of room for women. So she's playing like the woman
Mhm.
card and she's asking Alicia, like, I need this to be confidential, aka don't you dare tell Will. like,
She lays it
and
out on the table. She's like, "It's me, David Lee, Julius. We're starting our own firm." Like, as you said, she says, "Listen, Bond, and Will, they're here. Like, they got this bro thing going, and there's not a lot of room for women in that environment. So you should come with me."
join me. Meanwhile, John is coming to his third instinct. He is ready
Mhm.
to spill. He's ready to give information. So back inside they go. And the story is that Alexis's friend needed to be picked up. She had blood on her shirt and a gun. They were trying to get rid of the gun, to which everyone's like, where's the gun? like, where is the gun? And they need to find where the gun is and who his friend was. So Blake locates Jenny, who was the friend who needed to be picked up, and Kalinda's already in the house.
It's hilarious, right? Because Blake gets to the house. He's just like, "Should I knock? Nah, I'm just gonna take this crowbar and break into the house." Like, what?
And
Like,
he's overly aggressive in this
yeah.
entire
Oh yeah.
interaction.
He literally forces the door open. And as you said, Kalinda's sitting at the dining room table talking to Jenny like a civilized person. And Blake just busts into the house. Is like, "Oh, hey Blake, I was already here, way ahead of you. Because I'm Kalinda, and that's what I do." And as they're questioning her, Blake like picks this girl up and throws her
Throws
on the
her.
couch, like, "Empty your pockets." But like, bro, what are you doing? And you just see Kalinda looking like, "Oh my god, like this man is out of control. This man is a monster."
If I were Kalinda, I'd be like, let me just record this so I can show this to my boss later because this is the
Yeah.
way to get something on Blake. But also, we should mention that Jenny is a black woman.
Mhm.
Also worth
Yes.
noting in the situation because they couldn't get a black man because the black man was dead that they that they pinned
Well,
this on beginning. And
they're
now they're like, okay, yeah, Jenny was with us.
yeah, our black lady friend. Let's pin this on her. Like, what the hell? But luckily, Jenny has an alibi because she was at an ATM, and they have her
Yes,
ATM footage, this showing that
yes,
it could have been her because she was at an ATM at the time. So luckily,
yes.
Jenny's, Jonathan and Alexis's attempts to frame Jenny for this murder, like a lot of the stuff Jonathan Alexis has done, does not go well. Like they this person has an alibi. It's not great. Jenny is like, "Yeah, I bought drugs from those two, Jonathan and Alexis, but I had nothing to do with this pharmacy murder."
Well, and at the same time, so like after Jenny says, I was at an ATM, which should have been the end of the conversation, Blake
Mhm.
is like, empty your pockets.
Ugh.
For what? For why? Like, Blake. Okay, let me revise my list. I think Blake is above Peter, even though I morally,
Wow.
reprehensively do not like Peter. But
Mhm.
like Blake, Blake is too much.
And
It's just too much.
they're kind of really going over the top to make us hate Blake. This is
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's a little heavy-handed. The characterization of Blake, it's a little much, a little too much. I thought they were going to try and like redeem Blake a little bit, because like when that one episode where Kalinda was watching him work with sex workers, like when we thought he was like a
Mm-hmm.
pimp, like he's like, it's not what you think it is. I thought it was going to be something redeeming, but we haven't seen that yet. I'm just like,
No.
what is that coming? I don't know, like, because at present Blake is a big monster. Blake is a monstrous person. He's terrible. He leads with
He's
violence at all times.
put someone in the hospital.
Yeah,
He's broken into multiple places. He picked up and assaulted a woman to get information. Like
yeah, not a
he's
good
not
guy.
doing great.
And this starts a really, really unfortunate series of events in terms of how our characters deal with the African American community, because this isn't the end of it. This is the end of the nonsense that happens here. But
Yeah.
yeah, keep going.
Starting with this next part.
Yeah.
So Will and Alicia are like, okay, we have to find the gun. So they go somewhere by the lake and they're like staring at a bunch of rocks and boom, there's the gun. First of all, they have to stand like 2 centimeters away from each other while they're looking
Yeah.
at this gun. They're like up in their faces. They find it. They're like, we can't take it. We can't manipulate evidence. But hey, there's a black guy over there.
Well,
Let me
no.
just ask him. Like,
The,
what?
and
Go
Will,
ahead.
right? Will, they find the gun, and Will's like, we can't take it, right? At first, like, we can't take the gun. He's like, but I mean, Will's like, but I mean, like, what? But like, who's to say that's the gun? Like, we could just have found a
Right.
gun and took it in our
Right.
possession. That doesn't have to be. We don't know that that's the gun for a fact. We could take the gun and just leave. And Alicia literally just stares at him like, really? He's like, yeah, we can't take the gun. Like, you're right, we can't do it.
And
Like,
she's like, okay, bye.
yeah,
Like,
like if Alicia wasn't there, Will probably would have taken the gun and been like, "No, I'm not finding this
100%.
gun." Because, but Alicia, if Alicia wasn't there to kind of stare him into the right thing, because that's all she does. She just kind of looks at him like, "You know, we're not doing that, right? Like, I know, you convinced me to take evidence for a crime scene before, like, but we're not doing that now." He's like, "Yeah, you're right. We can't take it."
It was a very like Michelle Obama to Barack Obama type of like, you're not doing that. Like, not here, not here, not now.
I
Like,
guess, but yeah, it was just like it was interesting. But yeah, as you said, hey, there's a bunch of black kids over there. Why don't we tell them that we found a gun? He's and the way they did this, like they pull up to the black kids, who of course this young black man has on. He has on like a hat that's like like cocked to the side. He's got the baggy jeans. They're literally watching the cops search this other area that they hadn't gotten to before Will and Alicia found the gun. Like they're like the cops are literally searching for the gun in the wrong area. And so Will and Alicia pull up to this black kid and like, hey, so we just like we just found a gun. It's like I was thinking maybe it's your guys's. Like, did you guys drop a gun? You young black men? Would you like a gun? Would you like a free gun? It's over
uh,
there. Like, just in case it's your gun, it's over that way. So why don't you like go? And it's like the black is like, oh, a gun, eh? Interesting. So they go walk over to the gun, and Alicia didn't know what Will was doing, because you can see look on Alicia's face when Will starts this. He's like, hey, found a gun over there. I thought you guys would be interested. And Alicia's like, really? Like,
well, because he like doesn't he like drive up and then back up? He's like,
well,
Well,
Alicia's driving. Alicia's literally like the getaway driver, and Will is in the passenger seat. He's got his hand out the door, like he's all cool and casual. He's like, "Hey, any chance you guys dropped a gun? Because there's a gun over that way that you might be interested in before the cops get over there, if you know what I mean. Free gun for you black gangsters, because you guys look like trouble. You guys look like some
uh,
black gangsters. Why don't you go over there and get a free gun?" Like, oh my god, really, Will? Really? This was, throughout the episode, you see Alicia kind of looking at Will like, what are you doing, bro? Like, I thought you were my
yeah,
hero. I thought you were my
yeah.
guy. And Will does a bunch of stuff in the episode where she's just like, you can tell she's looking at him with like a little bit of a different lens here in this episode, which is very interesting.
I think the undercurrent of all that is like he's trying to get Derek Rose as a client because he's worried about money.
Mhm.
He learns about this thing about Diane at this point. So he's off his game, like just in general. That's not to excuse his behavior in any way, shape, or form. But this, you're right. Like this is not our normal Will. situation that we are seeing in this episode.
Yeah, he's a little desperate because
Yes.
things are happening. So he really wants this to get solved.
Yes. So yeah, the black guy's like, okay.
Like,
Like,
yo, it's like cool. Like, I guess like him and his friends start walking over there. So we're led to believe, okay, guns out of the picture. Like
yeah.
these young black gangsters are gonna go get the gun and probably commit murders with it. Like, cool, great. And Alicia's like, was that legal? Will's like, that was on the line. Like that was really close to like blurring that bad line.
Meanwhile, it's now time for the Kalinda exposition portion of our programming. She comes in and she's like, I found the surveillance photos of Jenny. And then out of nowhere, the kids are lying. They both
Yeah.
broke in, surprised the pharmacist with a gun. Alexis struggled with the pharmacist and shot him. Later, they told Jenny what happened. Alexis killed him to save John. And we need him to turn on her because obviously. And Will's big plan in all of this is let's break them up.
Yeah,
Like,
we gotta break them up. We gotta turn them against each other. And we get another Alicia looking at Will like, oh my god, you're gonna break up these two young kids? How could you?
for
You were
love.
I thought you were my hero, Will, but you're as bad as them all. Yeah, so Will's like, we got to get these kids to turn each other because that's the only way this is going to work. This is the only way we're going to save Jonathan. We got to get him to turn on Alexis.
So just around that time, Jonathan's dad, Big Murphy,
Big Murphy, Big Murph, the Murphy of the Murphy Gomez is here.
Yes. Yeah, shows up. It's really interesting because they explain the whole situation, what's going on, and Murphy has no idea who Will is.
Yeah,
No
and Will
clue.
is pissed because Will tries to take the lead. He's like, "Hey, this is what's up," and Murphy's like, "I don't know who the hell you are, Diane. Can you explain to me what's going on here? Because I don't know who this guy is." And Will's just like, "Oh, excuse me. Like, I guess I'll just go f off somewhere because you don't know who I am. You want to talk to Diane because Murphy is apparently a big Diane client that Diane has cultivated, has brought in because he has no idea who Will is."
Yeah, and that's just like great for Will, especially today. And he tells them, we thought that Alexis was with another student by the name of Neil. Like he's in on the plan. He's like, yes, I must save my son.
Yeah,
like I will go talk to him.
I'm down to throw Alexis under the bus. Whatever you guys need,
it's fine. It's fine.
He's like, yeah. He emailed with his mother that he thought there was another student in the picture named Neil. I was like, okay, that's a weird flex, but all right.
But also, yeah. Meanwhile, out of nowhere, this kid shows up at the police station with a gun.
This was so funny. I laughed so hard. Like, yeah, we see the kid, and Will's just like, oh my god! Like the kid Carrie, who is loving this. Carrie, who I don't know if he has figured out what Will's plan in this is, what Will's like thing is, but he slithers. I would say he slithers.
Yes, he does.
To Will and Alicia's like, hey, so crazy, right? Like this black guy, this black kid just came with the gun. Like, what a great Samaritan, huh? And Will and Alicia are like, yeah, that's crazy. That he just found that gun, huh? I wonder how that happened. They're like silently freaking out. And you know what Will said? He's like, great. The one black kid that's an actual good guy, I lead to the gun. Like, Will, this is what you get, so Will. Bad. This is what it's you so get. Bad. This is karma right in your face, Will. I love it.
Yeah.
Thinking you were giving this black kid who must be a gangster because he's a black kid hanging out. Great. Yes, this upstanding young man who we find out is like a sophomore at some college. This nice young man came and did the right thing, turned in his gun. F you, Will. F you for that. That's what you get. That's what you deserve.
I love that they wrote this into the This is the resolution for that situation.
Yes, I was troubled at first. I was like, really? Yeah. This is the idea, Kings. This is what you got. But then we get to this part. It's like, oh, great. I like this. I like the comeuppance for Will being just just a smidge racist. Like, like
no, more than a smidge.
More than a smidge. It's like I love that this is the karma for that. This is the retribution for that, for being that that way. The bringing the gun right into the hands of the police was a great move for
Well,
this to happen.
and it was so great because, as you said, like Carrie is slithering. He's got his files open. He's just like, huh, that's so weird. And also, they're like rushing the processing on this thing. So, like, we're gonna find out the fingerprints and everything. Like, that's what it is. So he goes in and he tells Alexis, "Hey, we found the murder weapon." And it's like, oh,
Wilk freaks out. Will's
well,
like, Wilk. Sorry, I gotta get my Wilk and my
Wilk.
will enunciate. Wilk is like, oh my god. Like, he rushes Carrie. He's like, I gotta talk to my client. He's like, listen. He's like, Wilk says, I know who those lawyers are on the other side. They're gonna move fast on this, so we gotta hurry this up. I need you to understand where you're at. So like, get the snitching because we gotta figure out what's going on.
We learned that Neil was her doctor, but we're still using Neil as a pawn in the situation at this point because Will tells John that it's like, she's been cheating on you with this Neil guy. Like,
you see that
what's going on?
He brings the phone records because yeah, like you said, Kalinda says Neil is her OBGYN. She was calling him because she is pregnant.
She's pregnant.
And Will's like, all right, we can still use this. I don't care who Neil is. We're gonna make Jonathan think that Neil is another lover. So like he brings the phone records to John. He's like, look at this. Neil. She was calling him all the time. Like, she was cheating on you, bros. What are you gonna do about that? It's like, oh my god, Will's being a big, like, this is not the best Will episode for sure.
No. And this is when Alicia kind of like calls him out on it because Will knows, like, he knows that he is not in like the best Alicia light at this moment.
Yep.
So he goes over and apologizes. He's like, hey, I'm sorry. I had to be rough. You know, like, it's just the job. She's like, I know, but I don't have to like it.
Yeah.
Like, and so hopefully Will went home and wrote in his journal about all the stuff that happened to him today because it's a big moment of reflection for him. Big Murph goes talk to Little Murph and is like, hey, do you love me? Like, if you love me, you will do this for me. You will turn on Alexis for me.
Big Murph brings out the guilt trip like no other parent has ever done. He's like, do you love me? Do you love your mother? If you love us, you will do this for us. Like, we don't care about this Alexis chick. Think about us, your parents who birthed you, who provided for you for 20-something years, who's paying your college tuition. If you love us, you will not cop to this. You will snitch on Alexis. You will throw her under the bus. Do it for me and your mommy, Jonathan. It's like, oh boy, this parental guilt trip is something else.
Well, and for a moment we think it works because he's like, okay, calling Carrie.
So funny.
Calling Carrie. And we're like, all right, we think that Carrie's coming. Carrie comes in, and the next words out of John's mouth are, I want to confess.
Ooh. I was like, what a twist. Because he's like, like you said, Jonathan makes it like, you're right, Dad. Like, I gotta do the right thing. Call Carrie in. I'll throw Alexis under the bus. And Big Murph is like, whew, like, finally, yeah, like, let's get Carrie in here. And Jonathan's like, I want to confess to everything. Everybody's like, oh, damn. Like, no, why would you do this, Jonathan?
And at this moment, this is when they both, like, he's being pulled away. I think Alexis is aware of the situation because she's like yelling in her room. And so they pull him. Don't go.
Like, Lily Sobieski. Great screaming, great acting. Yes. I love that. Just, you just hear, like, she's in her room. She's like, I guess she's been told the news, and she's just like, oh, no. She's like literally yelling it. I was like, oh, this is big.
But this kind of like causes everyone to give them, I think, a moment that not many people would get in this situation.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. That moment where everybody, including Carrie, is just like looking wistfully, like, oh man, like, I wish we didn't have to do this. Like, I wish this wasn't the case. These two nice young white people, they're getting in trouble. Like, I wish this wasn't the problem. I wish this is so terrible, so sad for everybody involved. Like everybody, even Carrie, who should be reveling in this moment because he got what he wanted, is still kind of bummed about what this is. But yeah, they Carrie allows him a moment because Carrie's just like, you know, it's up to Carrie apparently. Carrie tells the cops like, no, like, give them, like, let them have their moment where they can hug,
get to, like, hug and kiss and say goodbye, and it's like, oh my gosh, you're gonna be a great mom. I'll be here. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it turns out that Jonathan knew that Alexis was pregnant. Like, we didn't really get that
Right. We
like
didn't know.
that impression that Jonathan knew that Alexis was pregnant. We thought maybe this is something that she was, hiding from him because, as they're showing him all these Neil things, Jonathan probably knows like Neil is her doctor. Like, you're not going to get one
Yeah.
on me. Like, I know she's calling her doctor. So like, good try. But yeah, we find out that, Jonathan knows that Alexis is pregnant. So he did this for her, even though at this point, everyone, including Carrie, probably
Yes.
knows that Alexis is the real murderer, but Jonathan
Yes.
has confessed, so Jonathan is going to go down for it.
Yeah.
So it was a
It was a
interesting
good
moment.
twist.
Yeah,
It was
for
a good
sure.
twist. Back at the office, Diane's on the phone and gets word that Murphy doesn't want Lockhart Gardner to handle the appeal, which is not great news. So all of this hoopla, all of this to do didn't really pay off in any way,
Yeah.
shape, or
Well, I
form.
mean, not from just the appeal, but apparently from everything. Like, he's taking his business elsewhere.
His business. Yeah, exactly. To which Will then says to Diane, "Is he going with you?"
Ooh.
Who told you? Alicia. And then
Ooh.
this was like, I didn't even know Alicia knew.
Ooh, this is a moment because this is quite a confrontation because Will's like, oh, like is he gonna go to your new firm? And you see Diane just like she's turned her back. She's like, oh, he knows. Okay,
Mhm,
game
mhm,
on.
mhm.
And of course, because she just told Alicia, she's like, did Alicia tell you? And the look on Will's face is just like, oh, Alicia knew? Like, the
Yeah,
betrayal. At
yeah,
two, Alicia? At two? And Will was just like, no. Like, I didn't know she knew. Like, damn. Like, and he asked her, he's like, is she considering going with you? And Diane knows Alicia ain't going with her. And
yeah.
Diane's like, she's considering it. So you never know. Like, oh, Diane, she ain't
I
going with
have to give it to Diane. Like she is playing this really hard
you.
and she is playing it very well for herself. Like,
Yes.
of course, this conversation, like, she did it very well. She didn't like have a big blow up or anything. She just was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yep.
also Alicia might be coming with me. Also, I know that you and Blake go really far back because Kalinda told me.
And we
To,
still don't know
we don't know what
how
that's
or why.
about. We have
Yeah.
no clue.
Yeah.
But then this is where Will gets a little dramatic because
Will's had a
he's like,
day. Will's had a day
yeah,
and he is fed up.
yeah. He's like, don't come in tomorrow. If you come in tomorrow, you'll be greeted by armed guards and we're going to vote you out.
Mm.
And Diane's like, well, what was I supposed to do? You two were plotting against me. What's going on? And he says to her, you made your concerns real. We could have talked about this. We could have done something, but you made your concerns real. She's not wrong
She's
because
not wrong.
he knows that they are doing this, but he is turning this on her, two, threatening her, saying that, like, don't come back to work. You're going to be greeted with armed guards. And three, I'm going to vote you out.
And also, like, listen, this word gets thrown around a lot. He is gaslighting her. Like, he's like,
Oh,
he's
for
like,
sure.
he's like, no, you're only happy when you think people are against you. He's like, gorge on your own paranoia.
Well, and she's like, this is our firm. And he's like, no, it's my firm.
Like, it's my firm. He's like, I'm gonna have guards outside your doors tomorrow when you try to come in. And she's like, oh. After he says it, she's like, oh, so you told me my concerns weren't real. He was like, you made your concerns real as he like storms out the door. And it's just like, bruh. Like, I mean, and really, like, Will knew Bond was planning something, but I don't think he knew to the extent Bond was planning. Like Bond said something shady and weird on his way out the door. But I
Yeah.
don't know if Will knew exactly what Bond was up to, but Diane can see the forest through the trees and is like, I know what's up.
Well,
So I'm gonna take
because
proactive steps.
this is not her first rodeo. Diane's been
Right.
a woman in the legal field for a very long time. She knows when people are talking about making moves. She just went through this with Will herself. Like,
Yeah.
you
Because I
know what I
mean,
mean? Like, she
Will
knows what the signs are.
Will is the one on the back foot here. Will is the one that is
Yeah.
like not as in tune as everyone else is. Will is too busy with his head up Alicia's ass to really see anything else. So he should have known this was coming. He should have, because Bond said something to him on the way out, and he was just like, that was weird, whatever that means. But he doesn't have the full context yet of what Bond is planning. But like I said, Diane knows. Diane can see, like, there's something brewing here. So I'm gonna be proactive and get myself together before they can come against me. And Will is upset, kind of, that he got before he could do the getting.
Yeah, he does not like to be the underdog. He likes to always have the advantage,
Yeah.
be in front of it all.
How dare you plan something against me before I can plan something against you? Like, how dare you?
I mean, I would be like, "Oh, you've learned from me. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. Like, wow, I'm such a good mentor." Back at the apartment, Owen and Alicia close out this episode. Owen, of course, is distraught. He's just like, "I'm never going to find love. It's over." And tells his sister, "You have an ability to have love outlast passion." And this, I think, gets Alicia to like think about, because she's definitely feeling passion for someone else.
Yeah.
Like, she's definitely, love and passion are not connected in her world really a lot. But she's feeling love and she's feeling passion. And she says, "It's not about the heart. It's that the heart needs steering. It's not what the heart wants. It's that the heart needs steering," or something like that.
And that's that's an interesting thing to say, right? Because you think about it, which they don't really give you a lot of context with this, but I think what Alicia's trying to say is like it's great to like have love for someone, but even when that love is betrayed, you need to steer your heart and do what's best for you. And you're like, I think she's saying like, yes, Peter cheated on me. Like, do I love Peter as much as I loved Peter before? Probably not. But I need to love Peter, so I'm going to steer my heart in that direction to still have love for him because I have a family with him. I have all this with him, so I'm going to choose to where my heart goes. My heart wants to go to Will. My heart's cruise control.
Like, I'm being tugged. Tugged in a direction.
My self-driving heart wants to go to Will, but I gotta put it in manual mode and steer my way over to Peter.
She has to recalculate her GPS every single day.
Yes, like if I let my heart do the wandering on its own, it would go to Will. But I gotta steer it to Peter because I have a family with him. I have all this with him, so I need to steer it over to Peter. I'm not sure how that really relates to Owen and his situation, but that is what it is.
Well, and then also, yeah, I think your read on that is correct. But this episode ends with a line, which if I were in the writer's room, which I know I am only in there in my head, I would have cut this line, because Owen ends saying, "Will you make cooing sounds so that I feel like everything is going to be all right?" We did not need that. We did not need that.
And then
they were like, she doesn't do it.
She doesn't coo. She hums. She humming is not cooing. Cooing is like I can't even do it. It's like what a bird would do. Like that's what cooing is. Like but she hums. She's like,
well, I didn't even need that, because they were just like, they were like huddled up on the couch. Like that was fine enough for me to be like, oh, they're comforting each other. It's fine. I don't need the cooing sounds. I know that Owen's worried. It was a very weird.
I guess they wanted something to play over the credits, because Alicia's humming plays over the end credits like that's weird, but okay. It was an odd moment to leave us out on.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is a really good episode. Very weird ending.
Yeah, like episode. Hold me, sister. Hold me and coo with me. Like, okay, weird. All right, whatever. Yes, that was our episode. We had a great time breaking it down. Loving the second season. I'm questioning some story choices, but other than that, I'm enjoying the second season. We're probably we're at episode 11, so we're almost halfway. We're at episode 10. We're at halfway point, kind of, to the season. So I'm expecting things to really kind of ramp up coming up. So can't wait to see what is in store with us. As we told you earlier in the episode, like we would love to hear from you for your reviews, your follows, your subscribes, your likes, all that good stuff. Whatever you can do for us would be great. Marissa, tell the people at home where they can find you and what you're up to nowadays.
Well, hello, people at home. You can find me at It's Me, Marissa G, on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. I am helping people with creative projects here and there, doing my own creative projects, talking about stuff. Just trying stuff and things, just basically trying to exist in 2025. And if you would like to see how those things are going, please find me on those networks. I'd love to hear from you. What about you, Jason? What's up with you? I know you got some pods going on.
You can find me on the Blue Sky JR33D. I still peruse Twitter at JAYR1085 in case you're still on there.
Oh my gosh, Jason.
I know, Marissa, you hate me for it.
It's an intervention. Yeah, we'll have one. It'll be a 2518.
That's 2018. Yeah, 2018 after the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as podcasts go, I am on the Raw Pass Podcast Network talking about the show Made at First Sight with my co-host Asia Welch on our podcast, A Perfect Match. So if that tickles your fancy, come on over, and we'd love to have you as a listener slash viewer. Other than that, that's where you can find us. That's what we're up to. And until next week, stay good.